And as of today, we are talking about 27 billion, as well as 10 billion that we will need at the beginning of next year to strengthen our armed forces. I am very air defense and the implementation of the Freyja project to counter ballistic missiles. We are also talking about strengthening Ukraine's energy capacity before the autumn-winter period, as well as continuing investments in various other sectors. I would like to note that these are not one-sided measures. We gain a lot of experience from Ukraine regarding preparedness, regarding resilience, regarding how you continue to implement innovation. And our support will remain at the level of 9 billion euros next year.
I am extremely pleased that we were able to talk to 7 companies from the Finnish defense industry that have already been able to cooperate more closely with their Ukrainian colleagues. The message I want to send: we did not arrive here just for some symbolic visit. The main message from our side is that we are on Ukraine's side. We have been doing this from the very beginning, and we will continue to do so for as long as it takes. Ukraine is winning this war and will win. Most of all, together, we will produce tens of thousands of high-quality deep strike drones. Thanks to our expertise, as well as our and Norwegian technologies. From the very beginning of the war, we have been sharing many things, our experience and so on, and we have also used your weapons, armaments on the battlefield. For example, if you take air defense, NASAMS and others. And we have also used various types of air defense, various types of artillery and unmanned systems. And believe me, our experience, our expertise in what we provide to our partners can actually advance your weapons to, for example, what can be used enough. For example, NASAMS is one of the best air defense systems. Yes, but when you use it during a war, it is a completely different thing than when you use it in peacetime. So you have also gained quite significant experience. We, on the other hand, will receive many different technologies at the beginning. Now we have our own technologies. Thanks to our partnership, we can share our technologies. I think it can really help. Believe me, we have developed quite interesting unmanned missiles, as well as drones and naval drones. I think they are the best in the world. At least I believe so.
I would like to thank all the participants of the summit in Ukraine. I would like to thank our friends. We have truly powerful support from our Nordic-Baltic Eight partners. Real support, real friends. And today's summit, I would like to thank you once again for arriving at such an important time during our national holidays. This will not be a long statement. I would like to note that we discussed a number of very important topics today. In particular, we talked about air defense. It was a long dialogue. We discussed our needs as well as ways to protect our skies and missiles for Patriots. And after that, we discussed our Freyja project in detail. And it is indeed an extremely important project, a very important program for us. We will be ready to take concrete steps together with our partners and representatives of this project in the coming weeks. There are new support packages for Ukraine. We are talking about packages for Ukraine for our military. We talked, of course, about military aid packages and humanitarian aid. I would like to thank all our partners. Furthermore, we are talking about the decisions regarding support for the next year. In addition, today there will be a signing of strategic partnership and drone agreements with Norway. And this is indeed very important. We need to conclude similar documents with every European country. Furthermore, we discussed the situation around the Black Sea, as well as how Russia is blocking the corridor for food supplies and what we will do about it. In addition, today we discussed funding gaps. We spoke absolutely, frankly, and clearly about this issue with our partners. And it is very important that we understand each other. There are no secrets here. And as of today, we are talking about 27 billion as well as 10 billion that we will need at the beginning of next year to strengthen our armed forces. I am very grateful to you all for your visit. You are true friends. Thank you very much. We are always glad to welcome you to Ukraine. Thank you very much. Statement by the Prime Minister of Estonia. Thank you very much, Mr. President. Distinguished colleagues, I would like to say a few words. First of all, I wanted to note that today is a festive day, and tomorrow is also a holiday in Ukraine. And we are very glad to be here, because I wanted to say that over the last few years, we have overcome a lot together. And the Nordic-Baltic Eight countries are among those that provide the most support. For us, this is a matter of principle, because Ukraine is fighting for all of us, for freedom, for the free world. And everyone must realize this. After all, sometimes we see, and our colleagues may see, that people who have electricity, heating, water, and everything else may say that they are getting tired. But how can one get tired? After all, Ukraine is fighting for all of us the whole time. That is why we say that we will continue to support Ukraine, Volodymyr, and everyone fighting for freedom. Secondly, I would like to point out that now is not the time to give up, because sometimes people say that perhaps sanctions are not that effective or are not working. Well, maybe it would be better to somehow lift sanctions and do business with Russia. No, there is currently no thriving part of the Russian economy. And this is the pressure that must be continued. It is necessary to keep assets frozen, to pressure the shadow fleet, and it is necessary to actually strike at all those who engage with Russia. So we must wait for the trial that will take place, for the tribunal that will take place. And thirdly, regarding the future, and it is certainly obvious that Ukraine's future is in the European Union and in NATO, we must continue to push. We have opened certain clusters, but we must continue to move along this path because that is where Ukraine belongs. So see you there. Thank you, Putin, for acknowledging your defeat. Thank you very much. I would like to take this opportunity and convey to all men, women, and all children greetings on the occasion of National Flag Day and Independence Day. I would like to note words of solidarity. As we have noted, the Nordic-Baltic Eight countries are, of course, close to Ukraine. Today we have become even closer. And we have become close specifically due to the work that has been ongoing over the last few years. And we understand perfectly well the pain that you feel because of this war, the pain that arises for civilians, for families. We understand perfectly and try to support you in particular with words of solidarity. And we are absolutely clear about the list of priority aspects, in particular air defense and the implementation of the Freyja project to counter ballistic missiles. We are also talking about strengthening Ukraine's energy capacity before the autumn-winter period, as well as continuing investments in various other sectors. I would like to note that these are not one-sided measures. We gain a lot of experience from Ukraine regarding preparedness, regarding resilience, regarding how you continue to implement innovation. And Our support will remain at the level of 9 billion euros next year. These are record figures. We have worked as in previous years, and we will try to implement the priorities that Ukraine needs in order to continue to defend itself and to continue remaining a sovereign and independent country. So our countries will remain, they will work, and our partnership will work. And to all Ukrainians, I would like to say, glory to Ukraine.
Statement by the President of Finland.
Thank you very much. I will continue what Jonas was saying. I think that among the Nordic and Baltic states, we are truly trying to coordinate the best path we should pursue in order to provide for Ukraine's air defense, drones, and various types of cooperation. Giroesen. And indeed, this has brought us closer. The reason for this is self-evident, because we must support directly. I will continue to assert this because when a large aggressor attacks a smaller player, the most important thing is the survival of the smaller players. The good news is that if we look back a year ago, when we were here celebrating your Independence Day and National Flag Day, Ukraine is now doing significantly better politically, militarily, and financially. But we also realize that this is not enough. We need to continue our support both directly and collectively. I believe that we are already reaching more than a third of all support coming to Ukraine. As a pragmatic Finn, I have 3 results for today. The first of them is air defense. We are preparing our next package, and it is intended to take care of certain critical needs facing Ukraine. Secondly, winter is approaching. And in Finland, we consider October to already be winter. So this would be good news for the energy sector, especially in terms of electricity. In terms of turbines and engines as well, which should help you. And thirdly, and finally, we all also know that we are mostly talking about defense issues here. I am extremely pleased that we were able to talk to 7 companies from the Finnish defense industry that have already been able to cooperate more closely with their Ukrainian colleagues. The message I want to send: we did not arrive here just for some symbolic visit. The main message from our side is that we are on Ukraine's side. We have been doing this from the very beginning, and we will continue to do so for as long as it takes. Ukraine is winning this war and will win.
Statement by the President of Lithuania.
Thank you very much. I will begin. First of all, I would like to note that it is extremely pleasant to be with you on this special day, National Flag Day and Independence Day. And I congratulate you, Mr. President. I also congratulate all Ukrainian men and women. Our countries are countries where the spirit of unity prevails. And I believe that this spirit was also felt during our discussions. Because we were of one mind, even when we talked about military support or about the sanctions regime that needs to be imposed on Russia, or when we talked about Ukraine's prospects in the European Union. It is extremely important for Lithuania to remain consistent in our convictions. We have signed an agreement, Mr. President, regarding annual support from my country that will be no less than 0.25% of our GDP every year. I cannot let you down in this. And accordingly, Lithuanians cannot disappoint Ukrainians. Accordingly, people will spend no less than 0.5% annually in various forms. But first and foremost, we will help you in strengthening your air defense and in purchasing ammunition. And we are also extremely grateful for the experience we gained thanks to you, because you have gathered significant experience in modern warfare. And it is extremely important for countries that are quite vulnerable and exposed to various hybrid attacks to resist them, as my country is located quite close to the enemies, to Belarus and Russia, to our rivals. We are very well aware of what kind of pressure is being exerted pressure that is practically daily in various formats, in the form of illegal migrants, in the form of various drones or weather balloons flying from the territory of Belarus. So together with you, with your help and with your support, we are better prepared to withstand these challenges, face them, and deal with them much more successfully. My special aspiration concerns your integration into the European Union. This is an extremely important component of your security guarantees, because integration into the European Union is called a security guarantee for Ukraine. So when we consider the long-term perspective, I really would like to wish you success in this. It is extremely important that you ensure many things. You are implementing and accelerating the reform process. You are implementing so-called benchmarks. That is, intermediate milestones. Because we expect that soon we will also be represented in the European Commission. For me, it is extremely important that both countries, the candidate countries that are currently seeking integration, Moldova and Ukraine, move forward shoulder to shoulder. And Lithuania will be ready to help you in this process, especially considering that next year, in the first half of next year, we will hold the presidency of the Council of the EU. So good luck to you, and we are on your side. Glory to Ukraine. Glory to the heroes.
The Prime Minister of Latvia.
Greetings. This is my first visit to Ukraine as Prime Minister, and I have already met with President Zelenskyy 4 times in these 100 days, which means that exceptional supporters of Ukraine are sitting here. These are countries that support and voice the position of Europe and other allies. To me, it is very important that we remain together, shoulder to shoulder, change our minds if necessary, and not let anyone grow tired of this cause. After all, we cannot grow tired. You might get tired, but we cannot. We must support you as much as possible. It is extremely important that we act in a coordinated manner. And I personally, and I said this during the meeting today, I did not believe, and I do not believe in a peace agreement. Someone must win, and it must be Ukraine. Someone must prevail. And that is exactly why we discussed today that we have wasted too much time talking about peace agreements. I truly hope, just as Mette from Denmark actually said, that perhaps we are wrong. And that would be great, but let us rather prepare for the worst and invest our energy and strength into what Ukraine needs most to prevail. You have proven that sanctions, so to speak, the deep strike sanctions, are really working. We need to help you further to find ways to heal and target not the ballistic missiles, but the launchers in order to be more effective, collective. We intend to support Ukraine, and Latvia is completely on your side. And we also noted that next year, 0.25% of our GDP will go to Ukraine for support. We truly support you in this. But I also think about the issue of drone production. We know that Russia is also increasing missile strikes, and we have discussed and will discuss agreements on drones in bilateral meetings, and we all strive for this. We believe that this also needs to be increased, namely the level of production, both in Ukraine and outside Ukraine, including the Baltic countries, including Latvia, in order to supply them and ensure fruitful cooperation together in the military, economic and political spheres as well. So, we also heard some good news today. We know how difficult winter can be for infrastructure. Russia and Putin have no ethics whatsoever. They will attack electrical grids, water supplies, and heat supplies as well. So this winter will be tough. But we have found funds together with the European Commission to support you with the necessary goods and equipment for the heating season and power generation from Latvia's side. So we need this to happen before the winter sets in. And also, what I would like to note is that yesterday in Latvia and in Lithuania, there was a kind of weather cataclysm. We had one day completely full of rain compared to the rest. And actually for us it was just one day, but for you something similar. A cataclysm happens every day. It was very pleasing to see how integrated military facilities are today with civilian systems, that you have a very fast response when you have to deal with drone strikes among firefighters, police officers, and law enforcement. And in this area, we could also cooperate, use your knowledge, and bring it home. Bring it home. Definitely use this in Latvia as well. We are proud that we can also support you. And in conclusion, I will note that Ukraine has demonstrated with its blood and sweat that you are part of Europe. And we truly want you to succeed in this. We will support you in the process of joining not only the EU, but also NATO. You have proven the bravery of your people and the desire. May Ukraine achieve success in this. Thank you.
The Prime Minister of Denmark.
Thank you very much. I believe everything important has already been stated as a given. Yes, I am extremely proud to be here together with our Nordic, Ukrainian, and Baltic friends. We are truly acting in a coordinated manner. I think we have demonstrated what unity means in our times. And one of the reasons why we were able to ensure this is, first and foremost, because we are on the same page, on the same wavelength when it comes to understanding the situation in Russia and Ukraine. Without a doubt, you are paying the highest price, you and your people on the battlefield. But I think everyone on this stage recognizes that for Putin and Russia, this war is not just about Ukraine. It is about them and their imperial dreams. They want to make decisions about the future of Europe, about our borders. That is why we are now facing hybrid warfare almost every day in Europe, while the full-scale war is still ongoing in Ukraine. So we need to be together, to be united, and to have the ability to defend ourselves as Europeans, because it all begins and ends in Ukraine. We know this. And as a result, we will assist you in every way over the next 4 to 5 years. And I think everyone in Europe needs to realize this, and this applies to the United States as well, that we must ensure this. The only way we can protect our own countries and our own citizens is to be on the side of and stand by Ukraine. So, the way European security function has completely changed. You now need EU membership. Everyone on this stage supports it. And you also need to become members of NATO, because all the experience you have gained on the battlefield, the way you can produce and deliver results, the size of your army, your armed forces, your willingness to even die for what you believe in, this is what we need to learn from you. I think I am so glad that we had the opportunity to keep the peace in the rest of Europe for so many years, but there are always both positive and negative effects of something. So you have demonstrated that in today's world, you need to be able to stand your ground and have the willingness to pay the ultimate price. And we need to rearm Europe, otherwise we will not be able to help you or protect our own citizens. So today, of course, we discussed how to provide you with air defense, how to protect you with anti-ballistic missiles. But we also discussed how we can use the experience you have gained on the battlefield in our own countries when we talk about drone systems and other capabilities that the rest of Europe still needs. So we are here to thank you and your people today, but we are also here to protect the rest of Europe. And that would be impossible without Ukraine at our table.
We are moving on to the Q&A session. The first question will be from the Ukrainian media outlet TSN. Please raise your hands so the assistants with microphones can see you. And please, I ask all journalists to limit themselves to one question. Thank you.
Thank you for the opportunity, Mr. President. The next challenge before us is the 27 billion and finding how to cover this deficit. In the Ministry of Defense, you discussed this today. What are the ways, and are our partners ready to reconsider the issue of using frozen assets, which amounts to 210 billion?
And now a question for the President of Finland. You have a reputation as an excellent negotiator. We know that you have an excellent relationship with President Trump. So after this visit, will you try to convince him again to send a delegation to Ukraine to resume peace talks? Thank you for the question. Two main issues that we discussed deeply today. This is anti-ballistic defense. All the details about anti-ballistics. Everything related to winter challenges, and money. And these are also very connected things, because money is needed both for anti-ballistics and for our own drone production to respond to Russia's escalation, so they feel the war in their own space and want to pressure Putin to end this war. This strategy is very effective. I think it will definitely work. The issue of the money deficit is significant. Of the 27, 8 to 10 is the money needed now, so that in January and February, our army has the appropriate weapons and civilians have the appropriate protection, air defense, etc. So it's about these 8, 10 billion and 20. These are urgent funds because they are needed for 4 months. And they are needed this year already. We discussed various possibilities. Undoubtedly, frozen assets are one of the possibilities. We will all work in a bilateral format with various countries. And we must work on approaching the second tranche of 90 and work separately on frozen assets. Also with countries that are not part of the European Union. There are various partners of ours with whom we will work raising this issue so we can have the opportunity to take these funds. This is a serious challenge that we well understand for now and, thank God, do not feel yet. And God willing, we will not feel it neither in the civilian space nor on the battlefield. Everyone needs to work on this. Thank you. I would like to respond briefly. Well, we are all from relatively small countries, so we work actually to provide help. Therefore, my philosophy is to be as involved as possible in conversations with the United States administration. As far as I understand, a lot of attention is currently being paid by the U.S. to Iran and finding a solution there. But the two main negotiators, Stephen Utkov and Jared Kushner, are also constantly involved in the Ukrainian issue and are in contact with the Ukrainian administration. So from what I understand, the ball is not currently in Ukraine's court. Russia has the ball, meaning they are looking for practical points of resolution. But the Americans, they will not travel to either Moscow or Kyiv, unless they feel that there are some results. There's something. If I could actually say or convey what I felt during these 2 days in Washington, certainly, but there is an understanding of our role. We are small countries. We provide information and hope that it will eventually lead to a solution. The problem here is not with Ukraine. The problem is with Russia. Question from Estonia, please. Potulet. This is Albert. Yes, Albert Lipik from Estonian media. A question for the Prime Minister of Estonia. What is the probability that Russia will expand its aggression to the territory of the Nordic-Baltic 8 countries? And what is Ukraine's assessment of the probability of such a scenario? Thank you very much. Well, the Ukrainian vision of this can be expressed by the President of Ukraine, Volodymyr Zelenskyy. But I would say that now, and this has already been noted by various colleagues, that the Ukrainian position in this war has changed because Putin previously dominated in cognitive warfare, and many believed that he would be in Kyiv in 3 days. But it has already been going on for years. That is, now both Ust-Luga and other ports are destroyed. Many other facilities are currently burning. And those warehouses that provide services throughout Russia are also burning. So I would say that this cognitive war that Putin waged, convincing everyone that it would last 3 days, that everyone would surrender, and that would be the end of it, is now completely destroyed. You know? So now, my Finnish colleagues are actually asking what will happen. What will a rat do if it is cornered? But right now, I would say that the military assessment of the situation, the security assessment of the situation would be that NATO is working well, that Russia perhaps has reached such a level of strength that they, for now, understand that they cannot attack, that NATO countries have an advantage. But I would also note that we need to maintain this pace. We need to invest more in defense, invest more in Ukrainian technologies. And in Ukraine's military-industrial complex, which is what we are doing by investing in drones and much more. The only thing we can expect from the Russian side is an increase in hybrid attacks. This is what we are observing in various countries, members of the European Union. A similar question perhaps relates more to hybrid warfare. This is what is happening all over Europe. We must be perfectly aware of this. But you see, when it comes to the issue of cognitive warfare, Putin is not currently prevailing. But we need to provide Ukraine with everything possible. We need to involve Ukraine in the European Union and NATO because, as Matt noted, they have the most powerful armed forces in Europe. So where else do they belong, if not in the European Union and NATO? That is what my answer consists of. Russia understands this perfectly well. It tries to make everyone worry about them instead of Ukraine.
Thank you. Norway, Norwegian news agency.
Greetings. My name is Maurice Lauritsen from the news agency. Today, Norway and Ukraine will sign a strategic partnership agreement. So I have a question for the Prime Minister. What will be Norway's contribution to this partnership? And also a question, if President Zelenskyy could answer this, what will be Ukraine's respective contribution to this strategic partnership? Well, from Norway's perspective, this is based on the Nansen program, which has been in operation for the last 4 years. It started as our support for Ukraine, starting from February of 22, and eventually it turned into a comprehensive program of aid for the defense of Ukraine along humanitarian and energy tracks. Yes. And furthermore, President Zelenskyy and I actually came to the conclusion that we need to turn this into a comprehensive partnership. So actually, you will see this in the text of this agreement when we are able to share it It specifies the areas where we provide a certain contribution that meets those needs of Ukraine. Also, the issue of cooperation is being considered there. For example, if we talk about drones, it's about what is changing absolutely all aspects of the military sphere. We are transforming our own military-industrial complex. We are receiving relevant recommendations and experience from the Ukrainian side. In addition, I would like to note that all our countries are currently taking certain preparatory measures. We are preparing our population for various crises. Of course, we are preparing for the worst-case scenarios, but of course, hybrid attacks can arise, as well as difficult weather conditions, electricity problems, and other issues. So if we are preparing for these unforeseen events, then it is actually important to look at Ukraine because it demonstrates maximum flexibility and responsiveness to these events. So that is what our partnership will be like.
Thank you very much for your question. First of all, together, we will produce tens of thousands of high-quality deep strike drones. Thanks to our expertise, as well as our and Norwegian technologies. From the very beginning of the war, we have been sharing many things, our experience and so on, and we have also used your weapons, armaments on the battlefield. For example, if you take air defense, NASAMS, and others. And we have also used various types of air defense, various types of artillery and unmanned systems. And believe me, our experience, our expertise in what we provide to our partners can actually advance your weapons to, for example, what can be used enough. For can be used. For example, NASAMS is one of the best air defense systems. Yes, but when you use it during a war, it is a completely different thing than when you use it in peacetime. So you have also gained quite significant experience. We, on the other hand, will receive many different technologies at the beginning. Now we have our own technologies. Thanks to our partnership, we can share our technologies. I think it can really help. Believe me, we have developed quite interesting unmanned missiles, as well as drones and naval drones. I think they are the best in the world. At least I believe so. Maybe I just love my country very much, but really, I think we have wonderful, wonderful opportunities together. So I'm grateful to your country. Thank you. We also love your country.
Next question. Finland, Ilta Sanomat.
My question is for President Stubb. Could you tell us in a bit more detail what we should expect in the defense industry cooperation between Finland and Ukraine? And when will we get our own agreement regarding unmanned systems? And Mr. Zelenskyy, perhaps you could also answer. Yes, of course, 7 companies, as I mentioned today. I probably disagree here slightly with Mr. Volodymyr. Naval drones like boomerangs and others work great, and they will also participate in our cooperation. So we should probably think of this as defense cooperation on 5 different levels: sea, air, land, cyber, and space. And the companies are directly concluding agreements. I would like to see the results of this, but one of the companies, in my opinion, has already provided a certain indicator regarding the number of drones that can be produced in Finland. I think the agreement will be precisely about 90%. 90% production in Ukraine and 10% production remaining in Finland. Your second question regarding the agreement on unmanned systems, I think we are as close to it as possible. There are literally a few details left. It does not differ much from the Finnish model, as we would say, and from the Danish model, and it will be mutually beneficial for both parties. I think many Europeans, and indeed Americans, need to step out of this worldview beyond the mindset that we are somehow doing charity for Ukraine. Perhaps in the beginning it was like that, but now we're learning more from Ukraine than Ukraine is learning from us. I have seen it with my own eyes, I see it every day, but I saw it very specifically in 2 instances. Even today, I had the opportunity to visit and quickly learn about 15, 16 different components of the Ukrainian defense industry. Indarasarjo Natanarasali. And it is truly impressive. It actually struck me so much when you see how modern war is conducted in action. And also, secondly, I visited one of the largest, in fact, drone and missile production facilities in Ukraine and saw the production they managed to organize, which provided a level of efficiency and the scalability. So I saw the drones that I very often only see on social media hitting depots or oil refineries, how they are produced, and accordingly how cost-effective they are and are. So I think Finland has a lot to learn from Ukraine. I am happy from both a practical point of view that there is a company here and also from the point of view that there will be a drone agreement. News about it will appear soon, though not today, soon. I will just add a few details. Alex said, and I'm extremely grateful to him for this and to his country's enterprises, the defense industry. 7 companies arrived in Ukraine today. 3 of them we will not discuss. 3 companies have already signed documents on joint production. Many important points, including drones. So we are extremely close to signing a drone agreement, and we will ensure it, well, I don't know, probably in the near future. So we are extremely close to finishing these negotiations and concluding an agreement. And we are also working on the specific issue of bomb shelters. No one talks about such things, but it is very important. We need thousands of them in Ukraine, and there are not enough funds for it. There really is not enough money for shelters. Finland has initiated a shelter strategy. So we need major shelters between us regarding what I would not want to disclose too openly right now. So we need your experience because you are gaining our experience and it would be faster to utilize your expertise. Thank you.
Next question, please. Interfact.
My question is to the President of Lithuania. Mr. President, you recently mentioned your support for Ukraine on its path to EU accession. Could you elaborate on your expectations from your presidency of the EU Council and in particular how your country can help Ukraine in its EU integration? Very, very practical question. We will use every opportunity to first of all quickly open those clusters of negotiations that still remain unopened. So far 2 out of 6 have been opened. And I think that, in reality, it is a matter of a very short period of time before we open the remaining clusters. But actually, I mentioned this and would like to emphasize it. Your country, Ukraine, also has to provide certain things. It is important to demonstrate to EU countries that all EU member states have seen it, because not all of them are as enthusiastic about the European Union enlargement as we are. And for those skeptics, for those who are in doubt, it is very important to demonstrate that there is indeed progress in implementing reforms in the country and that there is a common understanding of reforms among political elites and the country's societies. And we need to move as quickly as possible because time is running out and our time is a very precious commodity and a very precious commodity. Therefore, my country will always be on the side of Ukraine. We support what you are implementing and encourage you to do more, to get more. Because as always, I repeat, this is a merit-based approach. If a country provides something, it can expect something in return as a reward. If not, then unfortunately, processes such as, for example, the separation between Moldova and Ukraine or other delays in reforms may occur. It is very important to me that your country is now on a track of rapid reform implementation. Believe me, my country, at all possible levels, from the presidential level to the ministerial level, will support your efforts because we are extremely interested in seeing Ukraine in the European Union. it is probably not a good time to talk about specific dates, but first of all, we need to address not resistance, but at least certain doubts among some EU member states. And then I think the process can become significantly more effective and faster and faster. Thank you. Good day. It seems everyone is eager to sign drone agreements. At least Ukraine is. So I would like to ask the Prime Minister of Latvia. You signed a drone agreement a few months ago with President Zelenskyy of Ukraine, and over these few months, have there been any concrete practical results, steps taken, specific results regarding this drone systems agreement? Has anything changed? Thank you. This is a very direct question and very relevant. I think that in practically 100 days, we have moved from signing the drone agreement to practical steps. That is exactly what we will be discussing with Mr. Zelenskyy. And 3 points I can already list for you are that the next step is that we need to agree with Mr. Zelenskyy on a green corridor for specific Ukrainian companies that can share their technologies. And this is a very important step to move to the next stage of cooperation and production. That is where we already have specific names of companies. We also already have 3 specific companies that have signed memoranda of understanding, and they are ready this year to ensure production in cooperation with Latvian industry representatives in order to provide specific necessary capabilities needed both by Ukraine and by us in Latvia and in Europe. And this will be beneficial for everyone. And this will ensure both secure funding and the credit provided by the EU to Ukraine. And we have also determined, due to our cooperation on the drone agreement and the use of specialists and experts who visited Latvia to assess the capabilities of, so to speak, an anti-drone umbrella, a defense. So in this context, we have specifically identified the tools we lack in order to ensure these capabilities in accordance with the Ukrainian standards of what you have organized here. We have identified them and we need them so that we can discuss them as soon as possible and secure them in Latvia in order to achieve the best anti-drone capabilities and secure our sky. So these are the 3 specific steps we are currently taking. Last question. Danish public broadcaster.
My name is Chris. I am from the Danish public broadcaster. Mr. Zelenskyy, I would like to ask you right now. Ukraine is facing certain questions regarding the investigation and who is being accused of blowing up the Nord Stream. Do you believe it was truly in Ukraine's interest? And Ms. Met, you said that the people on this stage are Ukraine's best friends and allies. Would you encourage your colleagues on stage and European colleagues to send everything we have, for example, Patriot interceptors, to Ukraine so that Ukraine can defend itself? Thank you both.
Thank you for your question. Ukraine has never officially participated in any such operation. Regarding the explosion of Nord Stream 2, the question here is not about who wants what or who doesn't, or there is an investigation. It is happening now. There is a situation. There are accusations. There are relevant witnesses. So a high-level process is underway. We have talked about this. This is not the first time with the German side. They know perfectly well that Ukraine was not behind the implementation or the very idea of carrying out such an operation. We have nothing to do with it. Regarding what happened, there are details involving citizens, including citizens of Ukraine. There are investigations, and I think all the relevant results will come out. We are always ready to help our partners. Undoubtedly, we are already doing so. Our Prosecutor General's office is dealing with this. Our Ministry of Foreign Affairs is dealing with this. There are, believe me, constant contacts. We are open to everything. It is very important to us. What is important for us is not lose our partnership, so that we do not lose the trust of the European countries that have been helping Ukraine since the very beginning of this war. And that is why we are absolutely open to joint steps regarding investigations and joint steps for those circumstances in accordance with those actions of that time.
Thank you for your question. We are probably among Ukraine's closest friends, but we are not the only friends of Ukraine. And although there are many negative trends these days, I still believe that we should remember, as Europeans, and by the way, together with our global partners, we need to emphasize to Russia as well that we remain united and together. So many sanctions have been imposed on Russia collectively in Europe. And although there are few leaders, few countries that partly disagree with this, the overwhelming majority of Europe supports a strong Ukraine. Look at everything that the United States and Europe are doing for Ukraine throughout this war. And we have extremely close global partners who are significantly involved in various assistance and cooperation with Ukraine. So yes, I think we are one of the closest friends, but fortunately not the only friends of Ukraine. Do we need to try to convince some of our partners to provide more Patriot systems? Yes, because the need is extremely high. It is obvious that there is not enough air defense in Ukraine right now, but that does not mean that we do not need to provide air defense in other corners of the world, including, among other things, in parts of Europe. And that is exactly why we also need Patriot systems right now, as well as the deployment and development of anti-ballistic missile systems. So yes, we need to provide more Patriot systems to Ukraine. But I cannot say that everyone should give everything, because the rest of Europe must also be defended. May I add just a very brief word on what we discussed? I forgot to mention this in this context. That Russia wants to return to the stage again. It wants to normalize itself. And an area where we allow this to happen and where we need to be very strong in Europe concerns the fact that Russia is returning to sports, the Olympic and Paralympic Games. Just 2 weeks ago, the FIA Federation actually also indicated that everything is fine. There is nothing wrong with Russia returning to the World Championship, both in music and in culture. And it is in this way that we must not allow it, because that is how normalization happens and support may diminish. And that is why we must be quite strong. And this group understands this better than anyone else in Europe. We must continue to insist that our partners do not allow this.
Thank you for your answers. The press conference has come to an end.